guys, this is Deb with Four Seasons Crafts. This video is going to be a little different. I'm going to take you through the process that I did to purchase a stamp set. I had two that I really liked and I chose one and I had a little bit of buyer's remorse. And I'm going to kind of walk you through why that is and then just kind of what transpired after, and we're gonna make a card together using this set. So what I want to share with you is when we get the new catalog, obviously as a demonstrator you get a little earlier, so that was back in November, December timeframe. I guess it was November because we could place an order then in December. And I wanted another flower set. Believe it or not, I feel like I don't have enough. It's normally not my first purchase, but there were some really beautiful ones in here. And it was this one, this two-tone Flora, which is part of a much larger suite. It's part of this Fancy Floras set. But I really liked it. It had kind of this big die and then all the smaller dies to cut out the flowers along with some greenery. So I was really debating on this set versus the brushed bouquet set right here. And I really liked it. I liked the example here and just the two tones, and I just liked the way that flower looked. And I thought, oh, there's all these different dies, and you can see there's lots of different dies here. So I chose this one. Super excited to get it. It had the same thing. It had some greenery in it and then all these different kind of types of flowers. So I ended up purchasing this brush bouquet. Ta-da! Here it is. So of course you get all of these stamps and then these are all of the dies. And you can see, and I just want to show these to you, you have these dies that are all almost embossed, right? And then these dies cut out all of the stamped images that you have here. So I thought, well, this is awesome. I can maybe cut it out and then I can emboss it. That was my thought process. So I want to show you my first things that I stamped. So I stamped this in Bermuda Bay and Coastal Cabana, and I loved it. I stamped it and I die cut it out and I thought, oh man, I like it. Very pretty, but I wanted to have some depth. So I thought I could take this little guy here. This is hilarious. I'm sharing my, and I thought, oh, I'll just put this on here. I'll just take my little image. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd that this is how it would work, right? And then I got something that looked like this. So I stamped, so what I did was I stamped an image and then I put this die over it. And you guys can see, right? That is not what it should look like. And the same thing happened when I put this over it. It's like the lines didn't match up. So that was not obviously how you were supposed to use this die. So then I went on and I thought, well, maybe you're just supposed to die cut it and then use a blending brush. So that's what I did with one of the smaller images here. Can you see it? It's like it's so faint. Here's another one. See how faint it is? I'm like, well, and I put it on a card and it just looked like a blob because it was so hard to see the lines. So I thought, well, certainly that's not how it's supposed to work. So I called Stampin' Up and I said, can anyone tell me maybe how I'm supposed to use these dies? Because obviously I was doing it wrong. Well, Stampin' Up customer service is wonderful. They are. But they couldn't give me really any more information. And obviously you can't have every single person that calls up Stampin' Up talk to the designer of the set or maybe where their, what their plans were. So I just set it off to the side. I ended up not being able to do much of anything with it except stamp the flowers, which I did. I had a card class and I used this one flower and it really came out very pretty. And I wish I had it to show you, but I don't. I will put it on my my blog though for you guys to see it. I did take a picture of it. So then I came back to it and I did some more searching where I did before, and I came across a video, and I want to say the girl's name was Christy. And if you search on Brush Bouquet, and I will find the link and try to remember to put it in the description, she is having a card class on it in February. And she didn't show her technique, but that was the first one I landed on. And then there were some other ones below of people, and I will put those links below too to their videos that showed how to use these dies. And it's totally different, guys. So I just want to share a card with you. And basically, I'm going to first share the process. So let me show you what I did. So first of all, let me back up. What you're actually going to do with this little die is you put the ink on this. You're going to put the ink on the die itself. And then you're going to run it through your cut and emboss machine. And that is how you use these. So let me share with you. Ta-da. So I use Sweet Sorbet, and I used this particular die, except for this one here. I used a smaller one. But I just want to take you through each one of these and the image that you get, and then we're going to just go through and do it once so I can share it with you, and then we're going to make a card. Okay, so here we go. So this right here is just the stamped image and just die cut out. I didn't use this die. This is just the regular stamp and then the die that cuts it out. And I used Sweet Sorbet and then I stamped off. So that's this one. Now what I did was I took the die itself and I used a sponge dauber. And I used the sponge dauber, which is one of these. And for those of you guys who might not be familiar, you just put it right on your finger and you dab it in your ink. And what you do is you take this and you're just going to dab all around it with ink. And then you put this upside down on your cardstock or your piece of white paper or whatever. So this is a piece of basic white cardstock using Sweet Sorbet. And I put the ink using a sponge dauber, and this is what you get. So it's a little raised, and I'm not sure the camera is going to pick that up at all. But when you put your hand over it, you can feel a little bit of the embossing. This one is using a blending brush. So I took one of my blending brushes here, and I rubbed that all over the die, ran it through, and you can, and all of these, by the way, is Sweet Sorbet. So I wanted you to notice how the color difference there. This is much lighter. And one of the things I want you to be aware of, obviously you're putting ink on metal. There's only so much ink that's going to stick to that metal. So obviously a sponge dauber is going to give you a little bit more of, I think, a true color of Sweet Sorbet than this one. This one here, I used an actual sponge. So I just, the round sponges, I just quartered it. And then I used that to dab all around the die. And this is what I got. So I thought this one had a little bit more texture as far as light and then dark. This one here, I used watercolor paper. So I thought, why not? Let's just do this for everything. So I took some watercolor paper. I spritzed it with some, actually, I didn't spritz it. I used a water painter, and I took the water across the watercolor paper. Then I, again, inked up my die using a sponge dauber, put that on, and then ran it through. And actually, I really liked that. I thought it gave it just kind of just basically a watercolor look. And I also think you can see the lines so much better in this one. You can really see that embossed look a lot better. This one here, I took a blending brush and I actually blended using the blending brush. I went right to the paper and made some swirls in Sweet Sorbet. Then I used a dauber and I inked up the die, and then I went through and I actually got these multiple tones, which again, I really liked. This one here is die cut and then blending brush. So I die cut it, then I ran the blending brush over top of it. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello. So yeah, so I die cut it, then I put the blending brush on the die to cut the flower. Yeah, I'm not sure what I meant by that one. I think I used the blending brush on the paper and then used a blending brush on the die and then cut it out. So again, you'll see that light color, and I think I wanted to show the differences between those two there. Okay, this one I actually used sweet sorbet paper, so cardstock, and then I inked it up and then I ran it through. So again, I'm seeing those distinctions there a little bit better in that two-tone. A lot more than when I just ran the blending brush over the die. You're just getting a lot more detail here in this one. And then this one here was similar to this one where I took the sweet sorbet cardstock, used a blending brush to go over the cardstock, and then I used a sponge dauber on it. So it's a little hard to see on camera, but you're getting a little more of a two-tone in this one. And on this one, I only did daubing in a couple places, kind of like right across the middle to give it that more of that shaded look going through it. So I hope that really helps you guys. So we're going to go and actually do just a small piece of running one through so you can get an idea of what one looks like, and that'll be that. Okay, so let me I have a piece of just white cardstock here, and we are going to take our die, and we're going to use fresh freesia in this case because we're using that for some other ones. Now I'm going to get, before I get too far, let's go ahead and bring in our little die cut machine here. So it's ready to go. This again is the mini. This is the white one. And just don't forget that you guys can get this for free. And you can get it in boho blue or the white for free if you sign up to be a demonstrator. And again, you don't have to sell. You don't have to do videos. You can just be a discount shopper and you will love it. You get $175 in product for $129. So you get $175, any product you want to choose. You don't get you can't pick celebration items, but then you get this for free. So not only for $129 do you get the machine for free, but then you get to pick $175 in product, plus you don't pay shipping, you only pay tax, and also in there you get a free paper pumpkin. I mean, it's like, what a deal, right? Okay, so I'm done selling. Okay, here we go. So we're going to get out our trays. We need 1 and 2, our plates, I mean. And by the way, just one other really quick thing. When you put these in, you're going to want them to be like an E-shaped, if you guys can see that, okay? I want the one in just a little bit further than the other two. Oops. Kind of like that. All right, if you can see, right, like there. That way they can actually feed through because the machine has so much pressure. All right, so here we go. I have my piece of cardstock that I'm going to use, and I have the die. So I'm going to go ahead and take my ink, put my sponge dauber in there, and now I'm just going to sponge up my die right here. Now, I saw some videos, very cleverly ways to ink this up. So like I said, some people took a blending brush, some people took a sponge dauber. One lady put a little loop of tape on the back of her die, set it right on her ink pad, and then pulled it up. So lots of ways. I probably wouldn't do that because I'd be afraid I would rip the ink pad. So you guys can see that. See all the ink there? Now I'm just going to lay it right on my piece of cardstock there. Oh, I'm going to take my plate away. And now I'm just going to run this through. Lay this right down and run this through my machine. Okay, here we go. And now, ta-da! There you go. There you have it. So now we have this pretty embossed. So it almost looks like you used embossing powder to get the flower. but I loved it. Now you guys could take this if you wanted to add a little more color. You could take your blending brush and, you know, maybe add a little bit more color to it if you so choose. Okay. All right, that is it. That's what I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to just pull in a couple others here. You can see them as examples. Let me move this out of the way, and I'm going to show you a few other colors here. Let me just come out a little bit. So this is the one I showed you earlier. Here are some. This is on soft seafoam with evening evergreen and soft succulent. This one's on evening evergreen. Here is a darker evening evergreen, but then also some soft succulent. These are just stamped images using pumpkin pie. And I think that's it. Then the other ones I'm going to show you that we're going to put on our card. But you can see how you can get so many different looks. The other thing you could do is when you're daubing, you could dab one color and then another color, sort of like we did here with the soft seafoam. So lots and lots of choices there. Okay. All right. So we're going to take those away and let's go ahead and make our card using our lovely flowers that we have created. All right, so the first thing we need is we're going to use a piece of our thick white cardstock, and we're going to go ahead and crease that. We'll set that off to the side. Then we're going to take a piece from the free designer series paper, and we are going to trim this in half here. So we're going to make one side 3 inches and one side 2. Okay. And then we're going to take a piece of our fresh freesia that's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and we're going to go ahead and put these flowers on top, and we're going to adhere that down, and then we're going to flip this side over and put it down here. So this is just a really, hopefully a nice simple card for us to use. You guys, I'm just using Tombow glue here. I just put it in this little container so that I get a little bit more out of it. And so we're going to put this really, we have a small border, so we're just going to want to make sure that the border we see at the top and the sides is the same width. That way we know when we put our second piece down, see that we're right there on target. And I'm going to just a tad there. Okay, there we go. So anyhow, needless to say, I am so thankful for all the people that you kind of learn from when you watch all these videos, right? There's so many different people that you can get inspiration from, but also really learn a lot for sure. So I was so grateful that someone had figured out how to use those dies because I really was a little discouraged. All right, this is a 2-inch circle we're going to use in the center. And then we also have just this piece of scrap green. Now you guys will see this is not long enough to fit. So what I'm actually going to do is take my scissors and I am just going to pop that in half, because if I put some on this side and some on the other side, when I put my circle down, look at that. It covers it right up. Let me go ahead and kind of go in a little bit closer so you guys can see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and adhere these 2 pieces of green. And one of the things, just because we don't want them to be lopsided, we have this line right here on the card. So I'm going to make sure that the bottom lines up. The bottom of this piece of evening evergreen lines right up with the bottom there. That way, whenever I put the other piece down, it's going to fall and I can line it up so it looks very even across the sides. So here we go. All right. Okay, now what we're going to do is I have cut out a greeting from Big, I think they're called Biggest Wish, and I used the word thanks there and just tagged it at the end. Then I have several of the brushed bouquet flowers. So some of them are on fresh freesia. I think I have one on a piece of white cardstock and then fresh freesia. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop this, or we're going to go ahead and adhere this flat on our cardstock here, and then we're going to be taking some of our flowers and popping those up on dimensionals. So we're going to go ahead and put this down in the middle. And then we're going to start with our largest flower, and we're going to go ahead and just adhere this right here. And then we're going to put in some of our greenery here. So we're just going to kind of tuck this one back here. We'll put a small amount of adhesive on it. And by allowing some of it to not be glued down, it gives you a little bit more dimension there. So now we're going to take this here and we'll pop this up on some dimensionals. These are left over from a paper pumpkin, always nice to have. And we'll put this one kind of right here on the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put our greeting in here. And that way I know right where it is. And then I can put some of my other flowers around it. So we're just going to kind of put that right here. And now I'm going to take a little bit more of the green and maybe have it go more down this way. So again, you really can kind of decide. I did this earlier where I did a little bit of arranging, so I had some idea of where things might go. So we'll see how it all plays out, right? So I think we'll put one maybe right there. And before we do, though, we'll put another piece of greenery here. So on this particular one, I'm probably going to use a glue dot. I think that might give me a little more. And the reason I say that is because if you can see, there's just a little bump here. And if I use adhesive, it might not stick exactly where I want it. And I want to make sure I don't cover up my greeting there. So I think we're going to put that one right here. So on this one, we'll go ahead and add some adhesive. And again, on this one, I used a blending brush, and I didn't blend the whole thing, so it gives me a little bit of a lighter color. And you can see it really ties in nicely with the other ones. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and adhere this to our card base. And then we'll see if we have some dimensionals close by. Here we go. You guys can hear our dog barking. Oh. All right. There we go. Wouldn't be a video if the dog didn't bark, right? Wow. Okay, so now we're going to add some gems. And I have these right here. And I think we'll add some of these gold ones. And take these out. And we'll find our take your pick tool. Here we go. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and we'll just put a few of them on here. Add just a little splash of sparkle. There we go. All right. And guys, I think that is it. There is our finished card. I love it. I love this paper. It was not, you know, it's funny. You see things in the catalog and you're not quite sure, and then you get it. But I really liked how that came out. So again, if you guys are wondering about this brushed bouquet stamp set, I think you will find that it really does produce some awesome flowers and cards if it's something you think you might like in the to get in the future. But those dies really are nice, and there's a lot of different options with them. All right, thanks much. Bye, guys.